Turning now to the race for the White House, and former President Trump spending the day at the Trump National Golf Club in Bedminster following his long speech last night at the Republican National Convention. Mr. Trump arriving at Newark Airport overnight, just missing the FAA's ground stop due to that global IT outage.
And as for President Biden, a much different scenario. Biden continues to isolate from COVID at his beach house in Delaware. Meanwhile, support from his own party cratering by the minute. More than 30 Democratic lawmakers now calling on him to drop out of the race. But Biden remains defiant in the face of pressure, vowing to get back on the campaign trail next week.
Eyewitness News reporter Darla Miles live in the newsroom with the latest push to get Mr. Biden to call it quits. Darla.
Mike and Sade, those calls for Biden to step aside have extended beyond the Democratic caucus. Key party donors, according to the New York Times, are closing the purse strings in light of the doubt surrounding the viability of the president's reelection. Now, this afternoon, Vice President Kamala Harris had to jump on a call with major Democratic donors to address their concerns about the campaign, as the squeeze for Biden to drop out of the race only gets tighter and tighter.
President Biden, you saved democracy in 2020.
A super PAC of Democratic activists out with a new campaign video.
Pass the torch, Joe.
Pass the torch. Pass the torch.
President Joe Biden not hearing any of it, issuing a statement Friday afternoon. I look forward to getting back on the campaign trail next week. The stakes are high and the choice is clear. Together, we will win.
And I think he's a great president. I think he's a great presidential candidate. He will defeat Trump. He will kick his butt. And we are all in. And this is a clear choice about what we stand for and what the Republican Party stands for.
The president off the campaign trail since Wednesday when he was diagnosed with COVID and is now isolating in his Delaware home. This reportedly giving him an opportunity to sit and digest new polling data and really listen to his advisors.
You have heard from the president directly time and again. He is in this race to win, and he is our nominee, and he's going to be our president for a second term.
Still, the chorus of calls for Biden to step aside continues to grow, with 2 additional Democratic senators joining that list overnight. ABC News reporting that privately, Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, and Hakeem Jeffries have spoken to the president about his candidacy and how it may negatively impact Democratic congressional races.
Yeah, I had a private conversation with President Biden that shall remain private. I think the events of the last few days have made clear that there's a tremendous contrast between what President Biden, Vice President Harris, Democrats in the House represent.
And that's the position of Biden loyalists who feel the president has rightfully earned his spot at the top of the ticket, and that the policy divide between the Democrats and Republicans will put him over the top in November.
When November 5th rolls around, whoever the Democratic candidate will be, it will be very clear that there is one party that truly does believe in democracy, and there is another party that wants to give Donald Trump a dictatorship.
Now, earlier today, there had been word that Biden was becoming more receptive to calls for him to withdraw from the race. But again, this afternoon, there was no public indication of that. And all of this debate about his candidacy having a big impact on campaign staff. This afternoon, there was an all-call staff Zoom to try to boost morale.